Now, shifting focus to the manufacturing sector, in October, manufacturing output ticked up by 0.8% year-on-year, a bounce back from 2 consecutive months of decline, mainly lifted by petroleum, chemical products, rubber and plastic products. This according to Stats SA, but looking a month ahead, the ABSA PMI showed a renewed contraction in factory activity, while PwC highlights that the industry is facing increased pressure as far as digital transformation is concerned. Philippa Rodseth, Executive Director of the Manufacturing Circle, joins us with her assessment of the sector. Philippa, thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with that uptick year on year. That number doesn't really seem to be confidence inspiring. What's your take?
Data indicates there's a lot of volatility in the stats as well as in output. So as you rightly note, it's year on year. We're not seeing a massive uptick or change. And sometimes it's quite difficult looking at the stats on a month-on-month or sort of year-on-year basis to get some sort of feeling as to what's actually happening in manufacturing and really make sense of the different pieces. And something that I find quite useful to have a look at is the Real Economy Bulletin that is put out by TIPS, or Trade and Industrial Policies, on a quarterly basis. And their third quarter, so as it's September 2024, gives some quite good indications. First and foremost, our GDP growth is minimal, and that impacts negatively on manufacturing. So the slight upticks or downturns, we really need to keep an eye on that number because it informs such a lot. It also indicates that in the different subsectors, and we see it even in the stats sent out today, different subsectors do better or worse. And we've seen a little bit on motor vehicles. That's had quite a significant downturn and impact given low global demand and export demand. So there's been a decrease in exports there. Agro-processing, food and beverage also has taken a little bit of a downturn in certain areas because we are in a drought situation. So I think in summary, what I'm trying to say, Zenati, is that there's a lot of volatility, and we're not seeing consistent performance in either a certain subsector or the sector as a whole. And this has got to do with factors including our minimal GDP growth, which really does impact on a lot of factors.
It's quite interesting, Philippa, because the narrative was that load shedding was really the biggest headwind for manufacturing and just the general economy. But we haven't really had load shedding this year. So is there more to the challenges here?
Yes, we don't have a single factor or a single silver bullet that can talk for how the sector is performing. And the fact that load shedding we have not seen that for a significant period, that is very important for our sector. It was absolutely one of the most significant challenges during the time of load shedding, because if you don't have consistent electricity supply to your factories, all else becomes quite difficult. And the response to that in terms of better generation ability and capacity, as well as a lot of firms or companies, industries looking to alternative sources of renewable generation, that is positively impacted. So maybe one of the takeaways we can also glean from that is the sector, despite things being very, very difficult and very volatile, is also quite agile and responsive. So the response to load shedding, I think from a company level, in terms of those that could have installed their own renewable energy capacity, we've also seen better performance from a generation side. And I think, like anything, we're never short of new challenges or new headwinds. And I think really what is important for us to consider is how best can we anticipate those? How can we look to a proactive response, because sometimes and often, especially in a very constrained economy, we tend to put a lot of focus into what I would call firefighting, addressing immediate challenges and issues, as opposed to saying, okay, so we've got this large build program for renewable energy coming on stream. Yes, there has been an uptick in announced infrastructure projects. Yes, we do need to augment and build new transmission line capacity. How do we do that in a strategic way that looks to addressing the needs that we have to deliver well and efficiently, and at the same time seeing where we can use that to benefit SA Inc. and local industry. So those are really the kind of conversations I think that we should be having, and where we should be applying time and energy and focus.
Yeah. I mean, Philippa, you spoke about the auto sector, and that's really been the largest negative contributor there. And I know obviously it doesn't help to look at month-on-month data. It needs to be a more holistic view. But we did have for November the new vehicle sales actually ticking up. I think they had their best growth in about 20 months. Considering that kind of positivity that came through there, I think maybe we can expect some more wind going into the manufacturing side from October, or is the story just bigger than that? Because, I mean, you spoke about exports as well.
Well, we certainly hope that we can start to see more uptick and more green shoots.
Yeah.
Certainly, as far as economic growth, we'll keep an eye on those stats, because that definitely informs, what is set to follow.
Yeah.
And in addition, these pieces of information and data that relate to increase in infrastructure projects announced, all of those do bode for more positive news or data. The real question always is, how quickly is that going to translate, and how can we be adept and efficient in actually accessing those opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm always cautiously optimistic as far as the sector is concerned. And if there is an opportunity, and certainly some of our member companies are starting to see an uptick, by way of different investment, different projects. Yes. But it is still quite early days.
All right. Well, we do have to wrap up the conversation there, Philippa. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights as to the landscape of the manufacturing sector. That was Philippa Rodseth, Executive Director of the Manufacturing Circle.